are gone. What else can fill that similar kind of role? The Lilia has been fine at that before, but that feels like it's the last of the S tier, which can really do that. Ashe is quite an important pick here as well, I think. I think that Ashe can potentially be very powerful, even with the Leona not on the table and a lot of that power of the Ashe being against the Ashe Braum against that Leona. I think that could be quite valuable. Instead, AL choose to go towards Shanks as Lucian had a strong laning phase in that first game win.
Try to get some of that priority in mid to be the unlocking factor. The Rumble will come back again, so maybe a little bit of redemption coming through to some extent, but try to get some more of the combos to come through as well with that one. The Lilia comes to mind as well.
Yeah, so Rumble is enough magic damage by yourself. Now, we have seen Scout take the Azir into the Lucian before, because what we were seeing earlier, whenever on the patch before this in 14-13, was Lucian being picked into the Corki, but then when Lucian was blind picked, you could still escape that Corki matchup and go towards that Azir. Scouts played the tank Azir and the more DPS heavy version, and on the other side now we do have that setup coming through in that Lilia and the Ashe, which we called out previously.
Love to see Hope back on the Ashe, a crucial unlocking factor from that game number 1, but there needs to be an answer in the jungle. You do not want to give Croco a free way on this Lilia. And that WeiWei forward might be a little bit different this time around, as I would love to see something that can kind of get into that jungle clear of Lilia and stop the advance of Croco, just kind of get in and do what he wants. The Vi could do exactly that. Okay,
so Vi is much rarely seen, more rarely seen now, and you know, later into this game, you will have those double AD carries to target onto, and of course, Vi Rumble is a heck of a combo. You still yet to put in your secondary support option as well. Stuff like the Rakan and the Rel could potentially follow up for huge teamfight engage for LNG as well. So they're looking for like another big teamfight engage, if at all possible. You are going to start falling behind Lilia in terms of damage dealt, though. Obviously, Lilia does a huge amount of damage compared to that Vi. It's a very different style of composition from LNG, much more towards that kind of spring or even last year kind of style, rather than the AP jungle heavy meta of the current patch.
And I think there's still some really big options for Ala. I mean, he could go for a bit of a side lane pressure, but he also could go for any kind of team fight impact here. Kennen has been banned away a couple times in this series already. Is open in this second phase as the Senna was the final ban by anyone's legend. Try to take away some of the safety of the bot lane, as LNG still have some powerful tools available. There is the utility, or we can go with the straight damage. It looks like it will be the latter, as Gala getting the Ezreal here.
So that Ezreal, kind of just a fair weather champion, well, rather a jack of all trades champion could do pretty much everything you wanted to. Has good lane pressure right now, scales pretty well, and is fairly self-sufficient. Can do fine versus that Ashe, because you can end up having your... If you end up being accurate with your Qs, you get more Qs than Ashe does Ws. You can end up poking out pretty well. Anyways, Legend, they have themselves a good pick CC. The Rel will give them more AoE teamfight CC, and of course, really good ability to just kind of chase forwards and lock up someone like that Azir. Azir can struggle with the Magnet Storm. Sometimes your shuffle can get cancelled unexpectedly by that one. So Kael on this, looking to try and make an impact in those team fights and get onto that backline as WeiWei tries to dash onto them. Ala does have himself that counter pick into that Rumble. He could go something like the Jax, but it is still a losing matchup into that Rumble even after the nerfs, I think, beyond that point. Hovering over a couple of different picks, goes towards that Gnar. Gnar has been a real flavor of the month pick in both the LPL and the LCK right now. Just feels like it does a good jack of all trades from top lane. It has a strong laning phase. It can really do well against that Rumble.
Will be the first time in the Rumble stage that we get this one from Ala, but he's going to have a ton of the team fight combo for them. They have so many entrances with CC chains, but you also have a little bit of that side lane pressure that LNG are going to have to deal with. Does feel like, though, LNG have a very stalwart composition, giving Gala and Scout the sticks here and having a ton of damage on their side in the setup through WeiWei.
So, one last game between these two teams. Very different composition from LNG than we've seen in summer so far. We got ourselves that AD Bruiser jungle instead of having the magic damage being put onto their shoulders on something like a Zyra or a Brand or something like that. Scout goes back to his Azir, which he's had a hell of a load of good performances on in the last 2 years. We'll see whether it's going to be the tank Azir or the heavier DPS one, but that's still up to be decided in this one. LNG change things up a little bit to see if they can close out the series.
Been a lack of consistency in terms of cleanliness for LNG, but it's not been a lack of wins for them. Sitting at 6-1, looking to go to 7-1 as we enter a final game here in Suzhou, LNG's home arena. A final game for LNG in the Rumble stage. They brought this one back, but anyone's legend They are right on the cusp of giving them a doozy and maybe a little bit of a wallop here. It is anyone's legend who took a really good game number 1 win, lost game number 2 really roughly, and now trying to bounce back themselves in the home of the chillin'. LNG will lock top 2 with a win of this series. Let's get into the deciding factor. A little bit quieter, understandably so, you know, LNG's over Rita. But AL, they're actually looking for a little bit of a move on level 1, try to get some of this vision down. We have seen them consistently try this on the blue side as well.
And I think it's kind of important that they try something early, because AL's early games haven't been great recently. It's been one of the biggest weaknesses. They didn't spot out that one, I don't think. They don't have themselves a sweeper to use on that either, so they must have missed that one. So that does mean that LNG have knowledge of where Shanks has stood it, and where not to go, namely their bot side jungle right now. So we'll see whether they stick around for full invade. Looks like they are. And when you've got the Alistair level 1, quite hard to fight, especially compared to the crash down of the Rel being much more powerful as just a level 1 ability. So AL, they're going to stick around and go for the early invade.
Hung and Gala, they'll hang around just to see, as it does get a little bit of that vision information given over. The question is here now, though, is if we see a continuation of these invades, if we maybe get to that diagonal/vertical jungling that we were talking about the other day.
Yeah.
But I think mid lane priority is going to have a lot to say on how these junglers want to get active. Look at this, though. WeiWei is on the enemy side for Croco, but we actually see the maybe unique pathing from Croco coming back after stealing.
Yeah, we'll see what Croco can do to get into lanes. Of course, normally when you invade with the Lilia, it's on something like the Raptors, but stole the buff. Absolutely a fine takeaway. Just takes a little bit longer because Lilia is so fast at Raptors. It's going to go back towards the own jungle. However, you can see that, you know, WeiWei is going to get himself the full quadrant clear as just the buffed steal coming in from Croco. So he's going to have to go across the entire river on the other side. WeiWei actually didn't stick around for that. So it's going to be 2 camps. Yeah, it's going to be two camps to 1 stolen away so far. Croco would have to go over the other side of the river to recoup those losses.
I actually kind of like that from Croco. Just use some of that speed to get over there. Keep some of these stuff on your side a little bit safe. Does end up losing out, I think, on the trade, though, just stealing away that blue buff. We'll see. He is the faster clearing jungler, after all. That tempo is going to pick up sooner rather than later for him. And it's WeiWei who's the one that really needs to get the setup rolling for LNG in his own.
Yeah, again, using those blooming blows to go over to those Raptors, which we say, hey, typically goes towards steal. And WeiWei is going to be here in time, but Shanks has been winning the mid lane matchup right now. Really
good vault breaker there from WeiWei to deny a lot of the damage from Croco. To see the trade of a couple of the little ones to Croco, but WeiWei securing.
It's kind of important because I thought Shanks would be able to come over if it was an extended fight. Gets good damage though, so WeiWei at least managing to stop the full camp steal away, gets himself the big Raptor. And this is kind of where the Vi does have a window of power versus the Lilia. Lilia, of course, is much faster once you get towards Fated Ashes. Getting camps away from AP junglers early can be very important, because if you can stop them from getting Fated Ashes on the first recall, it means that it takes a lot longer for them to go into just turbo overdrive mode, where they can start clearing away faster than any other champion in the game. So if WeiWei gets himself into takeaway and he might be looking for a dive here, that can definitely help the early game.
Doesn't have Meganar, has a massive wave, does get the flash out. He just moves around LNG, and now they're going to try to re-dive here. The turret is going to be coming down on a WeiWei, but it's not going to be enough. First blood to LNG.
Yeah, I used the flash. It's a good initial dive-out play from Arla, but he ends up dying all the same. And now, sadly for him, he's going to lose himself a couple of minions under this tower. And, of course, he loses himself that flash as well. Zika used that wave crash. WeiWei, of course, still managed to keep himself around on top side. I think one of the reasons why Croco wanted to invade on bot side early was to stop WeiWei being able to easily path from bot side to top side, but he can't keep him out of that top side of the map entirely. WeiWei manages to keep himself there and influence this lane. And now suddenly Zuko, who was behind in the individual matchup of Game 2 versus the Cassante, is now ahead with that Rumble in this Game 3, and that could be very, very important.
The side lane going to be cooking up a little bit. We'll see if it does actually pan out to anything. We have Dragon spawning up first and foremost right now in about 10 seconds or so. Both junglers going to be on this side of the map. A clear path for WeiWei to go up towards top now. Will also be spotted out on this side of the jungle by Hope, who's going to provide a lot of that information game for AL across the board.
Yeah, you get the UAV online. It's the map hacks. Should definitely have that voice. I'm sure someone's got.
He hasn't got the kill streak yet. How does he have the UAV? He's cheating.
No, he's cracked the lobby, man. This is just man, gonna have to call up the devs.
Spent way too much time on Call of Duty.
Yeah, man, same. In fact, I think COD 4 might have been the first game I ever played on the 360 when I bought it. Might have been the first time I had that. That's some really good memories of that one. That and the old Halo games as well. And one of a lot of what started me on my own gaming path. And I'm sure many other people will definitely have some shared memories of that one. As Kael gets himself back out onto the map and looking to see if he can use this first reset to get himself some extra safety for Ala. Gets himself a ward into that tri-brush.
Both Shanks and Ala have hit the level 6 mark at the exact same time. Nice little synergy there developed, but Ala actually going to get his back stopped at the end. Now, that's going to be a little bit annoying, though, because he actually doesn't have the TP to get back so cleanly, but he will be trying to move his way back up this way, as the grubs have also spawned with no priority around the dragon. It's going to be all about the grubby tubbies.
That it is. I think when you've got the Gnar and the Rumble on the top side, it's a very flippy matchup. You want to kind of keep resources up there to try and nullify things. WeiWei has Smite, so it'll probably be Smite on one, Smite on the other.
Oh, that's really rough. That was 1 health on the grub there. Really big pickup by Croco.
What? This is so weird because the Smite went the other way onto the other grubs. So they ended up smiting different grubs.
That's hilarious.
Right, that's the thing. And now WeiWei has Flash to make it look for another fight.
There's not level 6s for the junglers just yet. Both of them just trying to get a little finicky here, and we are getting some trades early.
Now, I know the LPL observers are pretty savage at times. I wonder if we're going to slow-mo replay what happened in those fights, because that was 1 HP on one of them, and a smite which went onto the other grub while it was still alive. That could have absolutely been a wasted smite. Croco was very, very lucky to get away with that first one. It could have been 2 very easily picked up by him from LNG if I read that situation correctly. No big fights happening in the game just yet. We might have another arrow to mid lane.
Hope the marksman, and he gets the lockdown onto Scout, and you're going to be reckoning that friendship from before on EDG.
Oh, man. That has been... this Ashe has been so powerful in the LPL, and Hope has been very accurate with it as well. First arrow of the game gets an important kill onto Scout, who... of course, goes down to his direct lane opponent. Shanks gets himself the gold in that lane. We'll see whether Shanks can get himself more quickly to what has become the more normal build for the Lucian coming through. The Blade of the Rune King, incredible dueling item. If he gets himself towards that earlier, that will be absolutely huge. You see that, Hope? This is what you want to do with the Ashe. You need to make sure you're firing the arrow from out of vision. There is no vision leading up to this. The arrow gets to speed up. It does speed up over time, and it comes out like a bat out of hell onto Scout, who's, goes down.
Kael just making sure with the flash. He has the Hex Flash available, so just putting hurt where it hurts the most into the heart of LNG at this point in Scout. And if he's not having a good game, we have seen LNG falter in a lot of cases. Now, it is still Shanks with a little bit of gold in his pocket. It still needs to also be a primo point for AL to play around. And we'll see as the resets are going to be coming out from both junglers, as the timers are going to be a little while for that one. It is still really focusing on how LNG can make sure to pull out this victory around Robin by at least in that playoff gauntlet that we have in front of us. It means so much.
Yeah. Or at least like getting out of the gauntlet, get yourself in towards that Guardian Angel. I mean, it makes things so much easier. We've seen... particularly because now, as you were saying before we led into this game, there is going to be a sizable break between the end of this stage and then playoffs, because we've got that Knight's rival stage as well. So it's going to add in another little bit of a break for our teams, especially if you're later into the bracket. It means that sometimes you can come in a little bit cold, and sometimes you do need a series to warm up back up to the stage. It was one of the old problems with the old the LCK playoff system, where it was the gauntlet, where someone was stood at the top of the gauntlet, and they hadn't played it like a couple of weeks, so they would turn up to finals waiting to play, and they just didn't quite hit the ground running. It's been something which has happened over time in various regions. So
We've even seen it here.
Yeah, for sure, absolutely. We've seen it in multiple teams over the time, and having that extra just blanket, that extra safety, it means an awful lot in LNG. They are a team which probably do need to reassess things now. I mean, I think we've seen teams on a basic level, they've seen that yes, you can target Scout, but specifically targeting Scout so we can't get control of side lanes, and it means that their teamfight approach is worse. That's the reason why you target him. Has been very effective, and I think that might be the blueprint for beating this team.
Yeah. And that blueprint being etched in ever so closely as the season has been coming to an end. I do also want to highlight some of the map movements from these teams. Hope going towards mid lane. He is going to have the Enchanted Crystal Arrow as well. You'll have first item spike for Shanks. There's the next grubs coming up. There isn't any Grubageddon on the line, but there's still the mites to play for.
Yeah, so that will be very important, particularly for the Gnar. Gnar's typically a very good turret hitter. Some big solo lanes that which can go powerfully after this point. Kael, Hex flashing forwards, arrow coming through.
WeiWei, he can't get out. He does use that really nice cease and desist, but it doesn't matter because Ala just shoves his head into the wall.
Yeah, WeiWei no flash. He stands next to the wall and is lined up to be taken down by Hope. Another pinpoint arrow from him comes out of Fog of War. Even if WeiWei knew about it coming, it would have been hard for him to dodge it. Uses that ult. Sadly, LNG, their setup for these objectives has just not been that great. They do have themselves double 6 and Hung. He can definitely be a strong front line. Croco's going to take down one of these. I don't really think you can contest, though.
I mean, I just feel like you have not only the setup for Hope, but also some damage to back it up, too. The Ashe is going to have a lot to say here, but it's really nice to see AL play around their strengths, move some of those strengths around the map, and still be able to find success with it. They do end up taking those 5 grubs. So that'll be some really nice siege tools for them as time goes on, and if they can win some of these fights as well. But we are starting to get to a point where, you know, first items for LNG are going to be nice. You have a lot of follow-up damage to WeiWei's initial engage, and he's the primary point I'm looking at for LNG to turn it on.
Oh, and that's why it's a problem if he's dying like that, because if he's dying like that, it means that the ultimate combo doesn't work out. It's much harder to make your big play. Scout goes back and gets that Nash's Tooth. This is where Scout brings a lot to teams when he gets that Nash's Tooth and he gets to go into a side lane. Now, suddenly, if you can use that to go into a side lane and hit turrets, even without the grubs, still Nash's Tooth is there. It's still going to take down turret plates pretty effectively. So this is the point where AL need to show their understanding of how to take apart LNG on a, it's going to sound deep, but on a philosophical level. On like a proper like baseline level. Because the way that LNG win, typically, the way that they look at their best is by getting Scout into a side lane, he gets side lane pressure, and he starts hitting turrets really, really well. LNG are the most tower-focused team in the entirety of the LPL. So if you manage to derail that right now, I think LNG are going to look like a vastly different team. I think that some of the other top teams have given them too easy access to these side lanes and to moments of power like this where Scout, you'll see he's going to start pushing in now. Probably someone's going to roam over to his lane, or the other thing which will happen, which is he will teleport into the other side lane now onto Zucker's lane because he's got the push up there too. And they're going to look to try and get onto that outer turret just before the plates fall.
As much as they can get a little nest egg if they can find any money to put into that one. Not anything on this top side unless Shanks overset. Okay, WeiWei is like, all right, if he's going to overextend, we got to stay up here. We got to make sure it can happen. There is the dragon spawning in about 30 seconds on the other side of the map, and there will be already pathings going down that way for AL. It is the Trinity Force, though, complete for WeiWei, so he'll have some strength in the skirmish that they want to come down here. Yeah,
good individual damage. Scout, buddy, you can't be there. You're on the weak side. You gotta be careful. He's just used it. Oh, Scout!
And the arrow! No, not again! Hope just has his number, and Scout getting caught in the side lane. This is how they lost a part of it in game number 1.
I don't get the mentality there from Scout. I don't get it. I feel like LNG, the play they should have made is back off and get Scout to teleport to the other side of the map, get a load of plates. That would have been better for them. Give up that dragon. It would have been okay. Now suddenly, LNG are going to have to buy some time, wait for that teleport to come through from the Azir.
Allah stacking up the Mega Gnar on the bot side, trying to get another plate too before they go down. There's going to be the TP in here, but the dragon secured by LNG. Right. So it'll be a Mountain Soul, but they get 2 in a row.
Okay, so that is at least that dragon going over to LNG, and that gets them into a good point. So it's not the end of the world. It just does. It did really feel like Scout was very disrespectful with his positioning before that dragon, and we said that, you know, Scout getting himself value out of a side lane. We've talked about it, probably too much at this point, but LNG, it's where they get so much value from. So the fact that they get, again, another kill onto Scout, you know, with that great arrow again, Hope, I think he's largely been the second best AD carry to Gala in this series, especially in the laning phase, but these arrows and these teamfight impacts have been so big. He's got another arrow coming up in a little while, maybe not in time for this Herald, though, as it's started up by LNG.
Have a lot of tools up for LNG. More importantly, that equalizer for Zika, just waiting to lay down the red carpet. Croco circling with the swirl seeds, was maybe looking for an angle for the lilting lullaby. Shanks is collapsing now. Here comes that lullaby, sing it sweetly as Scout gets completely collapsed on by Kael. Hung, he has the unbreakable, but it will be broken and his will shattered as AL swoop in and find the fight.
Oh, he predicts!
Gala.
I thought that was going to do so much
more.
Oh,
no! Hope overextends. WeiWei still at cease and assist, but the barrier, it saves the damage. Kael was looking for a re-engage there too. Both ADCs going neck and neck.
That was so unnecessary from Hope, but also kind of sick at the same time. He has the Essence Flux on him, and he tries to bait out where, or at least predict out that Gala's going to hop over the wall. He does so, but he almost loses his life. AL, though, another great pickoff. Scout, his positioning has just not been it so far, even though he's on the Azir, which he's made a lot of huge game wins on for his teams across the last year or two. He's just not been it in this game. 0-3, picked off by arrows, positioning poorly in regards to Fog of War as well. We've got to go back into the replay of this. I mean, he starts teasing towards top lane, so he wants to go collect the wave, but he just doesn't have the vision to do this. He leaves himself at the mercy of Croco too. He gets himself his ult onto him. Kael's on a great angle. And they don't get to pull off the ultimate combo to LNG before they've lost Scout. If they manage to get the equalizer with the cease and desist, sure, that's great if Scout's alive, but they can't go forward aggressively after that point. They wouldn't have the damage, and suddenly AL are showcasing that they can pull apart LNG before they get their map set up in the way that they want to, and they have a really quite significant lead now, which they could potentially use to put LNG down into a 1-2 defeat, which is not what I would have expected today, given the loss streak coming in from anyone's Legend.
It is crazy to see how much of a first turret win percentage AL have there. As you saw, it hovered for just a moment, but they did end up getting a little bit of that gold on the map for themselves. And now a 3,000 gold lead developed 16 minutes in against a team that has everything it feels like to lose in this one. Trying to get to that top 2 seeding for LNG. Been a really nice step up from Shanks as well, I think, against Scout, who is that kind of main carry for LNG. And the fact that kind of the WE bros, I guess, coming in clutch for AL.
Yeah, no, of course, Shanks and Hope did. Yeah, they had a good tenure on WE. And W, sadly, they were eliminated earlier today. For those of you who did not watch our first series of the day, Invictus Gaming walked away with a hilarious game too, where it was full of fun and things were already decided. I think that Hope has been so key with these arrows. I think Scout having the Seekers now, very important for LNG. If AL are going to continually go on to Scout, if he can get himself a good stasis as the engage comes through, it's going to make things a fair amount more difficult for AL. That's another arrow. It's on target again!
He can't miss, dude! It's actually insane. And this was all foreshadowed from game number 1. He literally was the biggest difference maker, it felt like, in that one, with a ton of the arrows, and he is making it happen. Look at that cheeky little smile on his face down there.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what kill streaks he's unlocked, but he doesn't just have himself the UAV, he's got himself an aimbot as well. These ults have been pinpoint, they've been heat-seeking. And Zika's gone down so easily now. 5 grubs in the side lane, Shanks can get himself that out of turret. And LNG, they are a team which loves playing through getting gold in side lanes from their solo laners like this. They have been stopped at every turn by anyone's Legend. This does not bode well for them. This means that LNG will have to fight from behind this game. They're going to have to fight from losing map state. It's another great arrow. It does go over a ward, but again, if you fire the Ash arrow from a long distance away, it's going to speed up by the time it reaches its target. Absolutely nails Zika. Flashes out. Yeah, it does get the flash out of Shanks as well, but still dying under that turret and giving the outer turret, really not what he would have wanted. LNG now have to fight from significantly far behind.
And that is not a place you want to be, especially with this composition, because you want to be able to follow through with WeiWei's engages, and it doesn't feel like you're going to have the damage profile for that just yet. We are getting close to second items, though. Hopefully maybe that'll be a little bit of a saving grace for them. There's really third items as well. That'll be a big break point. Second items, though, speaking of, Allah will have completed the Sterix gauge. Dragon is up on the table. Would be a soul point for LNG if they want to try to force it.
Yeah, so you can see that Shanks pushing in bot lane, already has that outer turret down. There's the Herald in mid lane to give LNG some buffer of pressure. They might even be able to stop this from charging. Depends how much they damage can get down. No, okay, not quite. So the Herald does get damage onto mid lane turret. LNG onto the Dragon first, but they are going to have to deal with that arrow coming off of Fog of War again.
Gotta keep watch where Hope's arrow is going to land if anyone's Legend can keep that Hope up. About half health on this Dragon. Zika getting the heat up. Allah has the Meganar go at a couple bars to keep an eye on here, but AL are going to move in because they have Meganar available to them. It's going to be about 3,000 health. WeiWei circling around the edge, maybe trying to find an entrance in. Dragon's going to be denied by LNG. Kael is going to flash away, re-engaged by Allah. Here comes WeiWei, tries to get the flash play. They try to get Shanks, but they can't do it just yet. Finally, the bird comes through. Lilting Lullaby a little bit late by Croco. Does deny WeiWei from continuing, but Gala gets the step up here with the arcane shift. Dragon denied against LNG, but they do end up sticking a fight.
Oh, Gala tries to Q flash at the end. Hope with a body blocked it, but the shot went wide. LNG, they try and showcase the combo that they're looking for, and they do manage to take down Shanks, but they lose you know, they lose themselves another kind of set of summoners. They lose themselves a kill there too. You can see how dangerous it is for LNG to start positioning around these fights. They don't have themselves the best footing in the river they would have wanted. The good chunk onto Kael makes this a playable fight though, because suddenly that rel is no longer going to be such an issue. Scout actually dodges out in the combo from Kael, who's trying to stop him from getting into the play. So that's, I suppose, a bit of a swing and a miss from the support. Gala very nearly gets himself that Q flash and ends up being a bit of an even trade. Teleport on the top side. Scout once again being focused down inside lane.
Will the Sun Disc be bright enough to save the day? A couple TPs coming in, and that big Zanya's moment there. Hope coming around the edge. Scout! He gets the three-man shuffle! We've been waiting for him to show up, and he might have just set the trend. As he does end up going down, it does end up in a double kill for the man himself.
Anyone's legend to try and attack Scout in his side lane, but he finally slaps back. 2 for 1 with a 3-man shuffle. He goes down, but he'll be happy getting the kill participation for that one as well. LNG at least finding themselves something out of their mid laner. It's been a hard game for Scout. He has been hard focused on. He doesn't have himself that Zhonya's just yet because he's ended up breaking that Seekers. He's needed that number of times at this point. So this is the initial play. Kael goes really deep on the turret. I don't actually know whether Shanks and Croco were expecting him to go like that. A couple of auto attacks go onto the Sun Disc. Shanks obviously not using target champions only on that one. Loses some damage onto Scout. Uses that Seekers very valuably under that turret. It allows him this angle to just put everyone into the barbecue zone from Zika. He gets a huge amount of damage himself. Double kill over to Scout, though, is going to power him through to his second item, and that's really important. If he can get himself to that Zhonya's full item completion, that's a big, big moment, and a big moment of power for Scout.
And who other to wield the power for LNG? A guy that feels like has made or break a lot of their games in terms of if they can keep him consistently finding gold for them on the map. There's going to be a bit of a stalemate in the mid lane here. Both outer towers still up. A ton of defensive structures for AL. And we do still have a lot of time until that next objective comes up here. So LNG, they'll be looking to use some of their tools in the in-between time and that focus on getting Scout in the side lane, take down some of these turrets.
Yeah, it is right on that bot lane out of turrets. That's going to be taken down there. This is where I think that play on the top side might have just broken things back into LNG's favor. I know they're slightly behind in gold, but getting this control over the map is so important to this team. And they know how to use it well, this kind of control. You see that AL, they're just a little bit behind on the map now. They're angling up towards this Baron, but they're not necessarily going to be able to start it at this point. Sadly, no Zyra in this game, who is very, very good at doing that, of course, at the early marks. Lilia, no Slash, we're not quite able to do that one. LNG, this is slowing down and starting to gain the structure, which they are much more confident in. AL had a good approach earlier on. The arrows were absolutely fantastic, but they're probably going to need to dig deeper again because LNG have managed to get themselves back into that comfort zone.
And this is how they've been able to kind of weigh themselves out of a lot of these games, find those wins, find that 6-1 record, and be this one game away from locking a top 2 placement in the summer playoffs. Very, very important for them. And just needing to claw back this one just a little bit more. But as you said, momentum may be shifting in their favor. We'll say, though, as you talked about, that Zanya's now completed for Scout. Croco on the other side, he's going to be close to a second item, but he has that Seekers as well. Big unlocking factor for the Lilia.
Yeah, he'll keep on hold of that Seekers for as long as he can do. Kael's going to start this up. They're going to be able to put a ward down.
Bold
does
Cotton.
put one over them. They see this go down. So Scout can teleport in. Doesn't have a great teleport angle, but needs to come soon.
WeiWei around the back of the pit. There's nobody body blocking. Oh, Hung goes in. Try to get the engage there. Scout has TP, though, so they got the tool they wanted.
Yep. Exactly. I think AL, they were only really wanting to go towards just getting Scout's TP. Does this open up a mid lane turret take? Kael does have flash. You could look for an engage, but it's hard to do that while Hung is stood in front of the team. One of the better things about the Alistar into the rel is that you can just kind of interrupt the rel engage if you place yourself correctly. LNG, they don't have themselves that pressure in side lanes because Scout has to teleport away from it. That's not a bad swell seed onto Gala, but of course he's the one person with a cleanse, so you can't really follow up on that one. AL, at least stop the side lane kind of full court press coming in from LNG to set things up in their advantage.
Got to get in here and clear some of this vision ward that LNG has been able to put down pretty heavily. You have to remember, though, Dragon spawning on the other side, they don't really want to give LNG an easy way into that one. Would be Soul Point, a lot of decision-making power there. They have denied it once already, and mid lane prio is the name of the game.
The question is whether they'll be able to survive some of this poke. You see that Gala's actually getting some good value down. Yeah, there are swell seeds on one side, but Gala's being more accurate as it stands. Hung is about to get his flashback, and it is now just off cooldown. So, AL, they focus on topside, they get the vision around topside, but they can't stop that dragon. LNG might just be able to take that one. AL, they're going to start this up and try and bring LNG away from the dragon. WeiWei is on the bot side of the map still, racing up now.
True Shot Barrage hits across 3 there, and that's really big damage from Gala to signal off AL from the Baron. So, LNG, they will end up pulling off that dragon at the end, so it's going to be a little bit of a delayed take there, but Scout's going to keep Prio in mid lane. They're going to move over to that one, too.
Yeah, you know, we've criticized a lot of LNG's play today. Well, we've questioned a lot of it because, of course, they lost that first game and they had some not great series recently. But this is still good play from them. They use that one play top lane where Scout gets that shot to just bring things back into a point where they can start calling the shots a little bit more and at least have options. They open up that map. They kind of pull AL from the Baron and back to it. They get themselves an opening to get Dragon and mid lane turret. And AL, they just don't quite have that ability to remove LNG's like presence in lanes. If they could pull them away from all those lanes and stop them pushing, it'd be fine. But they just haven't been able to do that now, and it means that what was a 1,000+ lead in the mid lane, it's not that anymore. Gala's still ahead in this bot lane. Yeah, there is this side lane matchup for Arlo, which is going well on the Gnar, but Zika's still going to be able to commit that equalizer a lot more easily than potentially the Mega Gnar can be as well. I think that even from behind the game right now in terms of gold, LNG, they're happy. They're getting their own breakpoints. They're on Soul Point, and Anyone's Legend. I would hate to see this be a continuation of the series loss streak, because they've actually played pretty well today. I think Croco's played a lot better than we've seen him recently, and you know, I like Croco when he's on form. He's been one of the best brands in the LPL. I think that AL, this is a team which I didn't expect to be. Well, no, I did. As soon as I saw Arlo and Tabe out of the roster, I was like, okay, yeah, this team might be good. But like, I'm glad to see this organization, which has previously not found that much success, get themselves onto the board really in a way in the wider LPL community. But if they end up with a loss here today, it'll just feel a little bit sad because they've actually played quite well today after their slump.
Oh, Gala. Get the arcade shift out of that one, hoping a little bit aggressive with the enchanted crystal arrows. But yeah, it has been anyone's legend who has made us want to believe for a lot of this split. And this little slump they've had in the Rumble stage, they're making some doubters out of some people. But here they are in a tough position, but still a closable one. They're going to be positioning around this top side here. The Baron, they've been willing to pull over and over again and try to get the resources out of LNG.
Yeah, and it's just been so hard for HL to get those resources now. It's just so much harder. When LNG gets set up like this, they're a really good team.
Yeah, they are.
It's just that, and I almost want. It's not wrong to say they're a slow team because they are. And this is, look, you can tell it's a slow game. But what I'll say is, I feel like it's almost more accurate to say they're a more methodical team. And sometimes that method can be faster because what they're doing is they're kind of following this flowchart of setting up the map and then they're using the tools they have available to them. Sometimes they do have very fast games because the method requires them to be fast and they're continually making plays. And we have seen in this summer them be more proactive. And even last year, even with the Tarzan roster as well, which is again glacial at points, they could occasionally pull out a faster game because they can find themselves this method to use all of their kind of structured tools to do something well on the map. And in this kind of game, you see the slower form of the method, really. But it is effective. You can't deny its effectiveness when they get set up. The
method to the madness, if you will. The mythological method to the madness, since it is a chiller.
True. That.
Oh, gotta add in.
A lot of evidence.
Yeah, that's why they let me yell at video games. I don't know if that's actually the case.
Yeah, that's the alliteration.
That's definitely
folks.
on the application.
Want to yell at video games? You must master alliteration. That's
oh,
the
I would not even. Do not even put that in my category here. But we have to see maybe.
No, we're just gonna sit here and just like make ourselves like Dr. Seuss at this point. That's the secret to all good entertainment, I guess.
He had it right with all the rhyming words, I guess. It is though a very slow situation here for both teams. Still a very big point of power for LNG, even if they are far behind in gold, because they've gotten 3 items for a scout now, and anyone's legend not really willing to pull the same play pools that they had earlier on around the Baron pit itself. Still, though, when you look at the bright points for anyone's legend, I mean, they are going to be on their own 3-item spikes here. With Shanks having completed the rapid fire, you got the Warmonk for a little bit of that tankiness for Kael.
Yeah, so we haven't seen a big fight for a long time. WeiWei is behind Croco, but not by as far as you can sometimes see these AP well, definitely can see these AP junglers going against the more AD bruisers. WeiWei's actually in a fine spot. The arrow is not going to be accurate this time, so it's another miss. Hope had a couple of really good early game arrows, but the last 2 or 3 haven't met the mark in the same way, and that slowed things down for anyone's legend. Because if you do get the arrow in bot lane, you can absolutely follow up with the point and click Lilia sleep effectively at that point. Lilia, of course, stuck on that that Seeker's then built up towards the Riftmaker. Because there haven't been that many fights, hasn't been punished for just sitting on the Seekers and kind of halfway housing between those two items. And yeah, AL, they're struggling to find the go button forwards, because if they go forwards now, I think they're expecting a big vial over a wall or a teleport coming behind them. I think they've run out of steam a little bit of anyone's legend at this point. They're waiting until this dragon coming up in 30 seconds. They are trying to get themselves a player on bot side, and they have got themselves some vision, but I feel like with LNG having huge breakpoints, a Void Staff just picked up, a Bloodthirster just picked up, LNG, they are ready to fight. Can they find themselves the best entrance to this objective? They hard push back onto their side of the map, and we said that's been an issue for them before, but they might just brute force themselves into River. Do they have the tools to fight this play?
1,000 gold and fight gold power for anyone's legend coming into this one. Not much of a lead, but something to work off of. Hope always looking to pick somebody out. You have to think about top lane, how the TP is going to affect this one. Dragon already started up, but AL, they're kind of willing to let this one be tanked up by LNG. Kael, he's on the corner. They're going to get the TP in. Allah has not committed just yet as True Shot Barrage comes across. Croco trying to get the pit. It's going to go the way of WeiWei. They get the Mountain Soul. Kael goes wide with the engage. Allah has Joy, but he's not even Meganar now. And there's the big sweep and a shuffle from Scout. The TP to mid lane. LNG are done with this one. They want to put the nail in the coffin here. WeiWei will be given his own coffin, but it's LNG that find the fight, find the soul, and now they're pushing in mid lane.
LNG, it is methodical, it is slow, but you can't deny its effectiveness. LNG stabilized through Scout, Shuffle, and topside, and honestly, this feels like it's over except for the Cryer now. They get themselves that Mountain Soul, they get themselves even in gold. And you know, normally it's not great to say, oh, it's over or whatever, when the gold is even, but LNG were already winning a lot of the map states before this point. Getting the Mountain Soul just makes it even more effective at that point. Gala continually putting down damage across this game. LNG hit the right and break points. They get themselves that dragon fight. And now AL, what can they do? What can they do? Maybe they can get themselves they could have maybe got themselves a Baron Rush, but they haven't got themselves onto the map soon enough after that point. And AL have they've just been stalled out. They've ran out of gas. They don't have any fuel left in the tank. This fight came and started through what was honestly not a great play from Kael. Gala escapes the engage, and there's no threat onto the carries at that point. Scout, Gala, they have the Mountain Shield. As soon as the drag goes down, it gets even worse. Hope gets ruined a little bit. Flashes back, still caught by that Azir.
Doesn't matter, though, as LNG, even through all the trials, through the tribulations, they are still finding results, even if all the questions still bear. In their last game before they go on into the playoffs, in a game that matters for them to get to that top 2 finish in the regular season, they are putting it up in a performance to stave themselves off of maybe that disappointment.
So LNG, yes, reminder folks that if LNG win this game, they have locked top 2 in LPL playoffs seeding. So that means they'll be starting up in the double elimination bracket. They'll have themselves, therefore, a Guardian Angel, which means they get themselves immediately into the double elimination part, and they can afford to lose the series. Of course, they wouldn't like to, but it gives you that extra buffer, which is very, very important. It's been shown to be in the past. Anyone's legend, they have another series left to play. After this point, they still have to play PLG, which is not exactly easy pickings themselves. So they would have liked to get themselves a win here to end their loss streak. They do have that 3 wins in the columns. They will be getting through into playoffs all the same, but that seeding might be harder. Zika, Zhonya's is the arrow.
That's actually really big to buy time there, because they were looking for a full-on engage on the back of that one. Now the cooldown going to be pretty short there, but they won't have it for a little while. Anyone's legend getting antsy in the mid lane.
Scout once again in the side lanes, puts up that Sunday, starting to push things out. He doesn't have the teleport. He might need to recall soon, though. There was a chance that there would be a rotation up towards topside, but Harry gets himself the Sundisk up so he can keep that wave pushed a little longer, even if AL looked to push in an extra wave or so, and he gets himself back. So he's going to get himself closer and closer towards Death Cap at this point. Remember, folks, this was like a 1,000 gold lead to the Lucian earlier on. It's now a 2,000 gold lead to Scout. He's got so much gold. Yeah. Over the last 10 minutes or so, and this is such a core part of Scout's style. Scout has played a number of different champions over a number of different metas, and you can argue which ones he's been best at over time. In the recent era of Scout, his Azir has been so instrumental in the way that he plays the map. His macro on Azir in terms of getting into side lane turrets, getting gold, and getting to item points like this, recovering 1,000 gold deficit individually and going up to 2,000 up has been a huge part of his style. Death Cap up.
Huge part of his double MVP performance back then as well was on the Azir. One of the best in the world, feels like, but now he's on 4 items with the Rabadons, too. So not only is he one of the best mechanically, but he will have the power to back it up. AL, though, they are not ones to stop here. as they are trying to pull LNG out of position.
Yeah, Hung, of course, used that ultimate there, but it does mean the arrow is also down. I'm trying to think what's more important. I think actually the arrow being down is not great for AL. I think that with the Mountain Soul, Hung's still pretty tanky. Could maybe even still look for a flash engage without that ultimate. AL being forced back. If Gala lands too much poke, it is going to be dead to rights. Kael, no flash, does him have himself his full combo available if he does go towards that. LNG paying respect to the Fog of War this time and going back to pushing lanes.
They're very much under vision here as LNG stop their backs a bit. WeiWei is hovering around the other side too. The Mountain Soul makes it so difficult for any of this poke or anything to really stick. And it makes it that much more hard for AL. And you can see the AL are just searching for answers. They're searching to make something give in this game, and it's centered around the Baron.
Scouts teleporting in. The Baron might be gone, but will they survive the fight?
It's a make or break moment here. Big true shot barrage from Gala. Scout on the other side waiting for it. WeiWei goes in here. They got the equalizer into the choke point. The Baron's not even the focus. The Baron goes to WeiWei anyways. And LNG, they're looking at a clean ace right now. Hope is no longer existent as another quadra kill comes through for Gala, and they've done their business. They did what they needed to do, and they're pushing the base of anyone's legend to guarantee themselves a top 2 finish.
A Guardian Angel descends in this arena for LNG. They will secure themselves top 2 going into playoffs as seeding, and AL will have to wait another day to break their loss streak.
It might be the last series for LNG, but they showed us what they can be at their highest high in this last game at least. Able to pull it out, and Scout having some massive performances on the Azir here, but it really is a sealing of the deal for LNG, something that has been coming, it feels, for a long time since their resurgence in this Rumble stage.
Yeah, LNG just sort of showcasing what they can do when they get the map corralled into the state which they want it into. We did see AL attack that style. I don't even think this is a bad game plan from anyone's legend. They showcased that they had the understanding of what it makes LNG tick, and they almost managed to get that across the line. I think that overplay on top side is going to be where they're kicking themselves. The fact that Scout got 2 kills out of that, got the 3-man shuffle, that's what flipped that game. Up until that point, they'd managed to deprive LNG of their typical options, and you don't get to make mistakes